Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami. Translations and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravam Charane Dear Vishesha Shunyavadi Prashitade Shatarane. We are picking up from Adi-lila, chapter 8. The author receives the orders of Krishna and Guru, starting on text 31. Caitanya Nityanande Nahi Esaba Vichara Namalaite Premadena Vahe Ashudhara. Read this one. But it's continuing from previous verse. Previous verse was talking about how, So yesterday we were talking about how, I'll just read this text 31. If one chants the exalted holy name of the Lord again and again, and yet his love for the Supreme Lord does not develop, and tears do not appear in his eyes, it is evident that because of his offenses in chanting, the seed of the holy name of Krishna does not sprout. So yesterday we went through the 10 offenses. We were talking about how, if we're not feeling ecstasy while chanting, then it's because of offenses. Now, Krishna's Kaviraj says, but if one only chants with some slight faith the holy names of Lord Caitanya and Nityananda, chants the Hare Maha Mantra, he feels the ecstasy of love for God. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks in this connection that if one takes shelter of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, follows their instructions to become more tolerant than the tree and humbler than the grass, and in this way chants the holy name of the Lord, very soon he achieves the platform of transcendental loving service to the Lord. Tears appear in his eyes. There are offenses to be considered in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, but there are no such considerations in chanting the names of Gaura Nityananda. Therefore, if one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, but his life is still full of sinful activities, it will be very difficult for him to achieve the platform of loving service to the Lord. But if in spite of being an offender, one chants the holy names of Gaura Nityananda, he is very quickly freed from the reactions to his offenses. Therefore, one should first approach Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, or worship Guru Gauranga, and then come to the stage of worshipping Radha Krishna. In our Krishna consciousness movement, our students are first advised to worship Guru Gauranga, and then, when they are somewhat advanced, the Radha Krishna deity is installed, and they are engaged in the worship of the Lord. One should first take shelter of Gaura Nityananda in order to reach ultimately Radha Krishna. Narottam Das Thakur sings in this connection, Gauranga Bolite Habe Pulaka Shariye Hari Hari Bolite Nayane Babeni Araka Benita Chande Karuna Karibe Samsara Vasana Mora Kabe Tuchahabe Vishaya Chariya Kabe Shudha Habe Man Kabe Hamaheraba Shri Vrindavan. In the beginning, one should very regularly chant Sri Gaura Sundar's holy name, and then chant the holy name of Lord Nityananda. Then one's heart will be cleansed of impure desires for material enjoyment. Then one can approach Vrindavan Dham to worship Lord Krishna. Unless one is favored by Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, there is no need to go to Vrindavan, for unless one's mind is purified, he cannot see Vrindavan, even if he goes there. Actually, going to Vrindavan involves taking shelter of the 6 Goswamis by reading the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Vidagdha Madhava, Lalita Madhava, and other books that they have given. In this way, one can understand the transcendental loving affairs between Radha and Krishna, Abhihama Bhuja Bose Yugala Piriti. The conjugal love between Radha and Krishna is not an ordinary human affair. It is fully transcendental. In order to understand Radha and Krishna worship them and engage in their loving service, one must be guided by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and the six Goswamis, Lord Chaitanya's direct disciples. For an ordinary man, worship of Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu or the Panchatattva is easier than worship of Radha and Krishna. Unless one is very fortunate, he should not be induced to worship Radha Krishna directly. A neophyte student who is not sufficiently educated or enlightened should not indulge in the worship of Sri Radha and Krishna or the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Even if he does, he cannot get the desired result. One should therefore chant the names of Nitai Gaur and worship them without false prestige. Since everyone within this material world is more or less influenced by sinful activities, in the beginning it is essential that one take to the worship of Guru Gauranga and ask their favor. For thus, despite all his disqualifications, one will very soon become qualified to worship the Radha Krishna Vigraha. It should be noted in this connection that the holy names of Lord Krishna and Gaura Sundar are both identical with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, one should not consider one name to be more potent than the other. Considering the position of the people of this age, however, the chanting of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's name is more essential than the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most magnanimous incarnation. His mercy is very easily achieved. Therefore, one must first take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. By serving Gaura Nityananda, one is freed from the entanglement of material existence and thus becomes qualified to worship the Radha Krishna deity. So this is very interesting. How much we really need to lean on the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. And so it's we talked about this before, how it's kind of like a delicate balance, right? Between worshiping Radha and Krishna, because Lord Chaitanya wanted us to be worshippers of Radha and Krishna, but understanding that we can only worship Radha and Krishna by worshiping Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. So taking their holy names to be very important, like as an access route, and also non-different from the names of with only chanting the names of Gaurnitai and worshipping the deities of Gaurnitai in this age. But then the thing is that Lord Chaitanya instructed us to worship Radha and Krishna. So we have to do both, right? And give equal importance really to both of them. Yes, back to Rich.
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada Priya. I might be overthinking this, but I know it says we have to worship the was it the Panchatattva mantra?
Yeah.
So what I was thinking is it also saying that we should worship the Gaurnitai deities before we worship the Radha Krishna deities, and it because it's saying like we have to worship the the Panchatattva, I think, before we can worship the Maha Mantra. So I was just kind of reassociating those things.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, Prabhupada literally says that. He says that in the beginning, it's essential that we worship Guru Gauranga. So Guru Gauranga means Gaurnitai. Guru means Lord Nityananda, who is the Adi Guru, and then Gauranga is Lord Chaitanya. So it's essential that one take to the worship of Gaurnitai and ask their favor. For thus, despite our disqualifications, we will very soon become qualified to worship the Radha Krishna deities. So, yeah, when we first start worshiping, we should worship Gaurnitai. That's why, usually in, outreach centers or preaching centers, we install Gaurnitai deities first, or even sometimes just a picture of the Panchatattva. And then, for example, in Gainesville, they have Gaurnitai. And then when they started the Alachua community, they only had Gaurnitai there for a long, long time. Actually, the Gornitai deities that are now in the Alachua temple used to be in Gainesville. Those were the Gainesville deities. But then when they started the Alachua to be like a big community, they thought that they moved the deities out there, but they kept Gainesville as a preaching center, like a student center. And then they didn't have deities there for a while, but then they got small Gornitai deities. But for years and years, like I visited Alachua. I'm not sure when Alachua was established, maybe back in the 80s or something. After Gainesville.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. When the Gainesville community started growing and people started getting married, then I think Hridayananda Maharaj was the temple president there at that time. He was there with his wife, actually, in his Grihasta times. He was taking care of the Gainesville temple. And then they bought that land out there and they wanted to develop it because devotees were, getting mature, getting married, starting their families. And he thought, well, let's have a farm then where everyone can live and we can have a school. And, because having all these grihastas and kids and things in the preaching center is kind of like, doesn't work well. It's a different mood. So they started it with that idea. They moved the Gornitai deities out there, thinking we'll do the deity worship here and we'll focus on Gainesville and preaching. So then that must have been like in the 80s or late 70s even. Because I can't remember which year Hridayananda Maharaj took sannyas. Anyways, I visited Alachua in 1999, and they only had Gornitai. They still just had those Gornitai deities. But I remember talking to somebody who was telling me that now, like for the past few years, whenever they make new Ashtami or something, they make 3 sets of outfits because the plan is to have Krishna Balaram and Radha Krishna and Gornitai, and that they're just like already starting to prepare for that. But they wanted to wait until the community was well established. They had, plenty of Brahmin initiated devotees who were dedicated to doing the deity worship and maintaining the standards, keeping everything clean and contributing financially so that everything could be done nicely. And when they were confident that they had that all set, and then they brought the deities. So now, there's Gornitai on the left altar and Radhe Shyam in the middle, and then Krishna Balaram on the right. So that's exactly what Prabhupada is saying we should do. So that's very nice, right? And maybe that's one of the reasons why the Alachua community has, evolved in such a big, successful, attractive devotee community, is because they started off with Gornitai, and then they grew and became qualified to worship Radha and Krishna. Now the worship of Radha Krishna is like such a high standard there.
Thank you, Prabhupada Priya. I just have to say that I had, before I heard this, I had been attracted more to go directly to the Radha Krishna deities before the Gornitai, but now you told me what I should do. So thank you.
All right, very good. Yeah, so you focus on Gornitai. Pray to them, and before chanting Hare Krishna, make sure you always chant without fail. Jai Shri Krishna Caitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Because then we can get very quickly freed from all of our offensive mentalities. Okay, text 32. Swatantra Ishvara Prabhu Atyanta Udara Tanrena Bhajila Kabuna Haya Nistara. You got it there, Pragati? Arjuna?
Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the independent Supreme Personality of Godhead, is greatly magnanimous. Unless one worships him, one can never be liberated. Purport. Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur here remarks that one should not give up the worship of Radha Krishna to worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By worshipping is one should not try to supersede the instructions of the 6 Goswamis, for they are acharyas and very dear to Lord Chaitanya. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur sings, one must be a submissive student of the 6 Goswamis, from Srila Rupa Goswami to Raghunath Das Goswami. Not following their instructions but imagining how to worship Gaura Sundar and Radha Krishna is a great offense, as a result of which one clears a path to hell. If one neglects the instructions of the six Goswamis and yet becomes a so-called devotee of Radha Krishna, he merely criticizes the real devotees of Radha Krishna. As a result of speculation, he considers Gaura Sundar to be an ordinary devotee and therefore cannot make progress in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Radha Krishna.
See what I mean about it being like a fine line here and a delicate balance? So as I was saying, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, don't give up the worship of Radha and Krishna to worship Lord Chaitanya. And then at the end he says, don't worship Radha and Krishna, you're thinking that the worship of Lord Chaitanya is not important. So we have to worship both of them, following in the footsteps of the six Goswamis. So in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, whenever he opened temples in his Gaudiya Math, he opened 108 temples in India under the institutional name of the Gaudiya Math. And in each one of those temples, he established deities of Radha, Krishna, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You'll see that in the Yoga Pit, still there. Radha, Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that people can understand that we need to worship Radha, Krishna, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from Radha and Krishna. So, yeah, so we really need to follow in the footsteps of the Goswamis and our acharyas to learn how to approach Radha and Krishna properly.
I have a question.
Yes.
I was hearing before that Srila Prabhupada mainly established Gaura and Nitai, and before it was like either just Lord Chaitanya or sometimes like Gaura Gadadhar, something like that. I was curious about that.
Yeah, because Lord Nityananda is so merciful. Prabhupada knew that people of Kali Yuga really need the mercy of Lord Nityananda to worship him. So generally, see, the thing is that in the Gaudiya line, the focus is on Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan. And so if you're worshiping just Lord Chaitanya and Radha Krishna, like the Gaudiya Math temples, you can put them all on one altar because Lord Chaitanya is Radha and Krishna. But as soon as you put Nityananda in there, you need a separate altar because Nityananda is Lord Balaram. And whenever Radha and Krishna are together, Balaram is he's not there. He's not present because, it's a conjugal relationship and you can't be having your older brother around. So, yeah, it's kind of like Rasabas. Yeah, so, but Srila Prabhupada, knowing how much we needed the mercy of Lord Nityananda, who is really the Patita Pavana, the savior of Jagai and Madai, and knowing that especially spreading Krishna consciousness in the West, it's full of Jagai and Madais, we need to worship Lord Nityananda. So he started by establishing Gaura-Nitai, and then having later installing Radha and Krishna like in a separate altar. That's why in a lot of our ISKCON temples we'll have an altar here and an altar there. So there. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I think we have a guest in the wall. And then he's also mentioning here about Vrindavan. So yeah, that we need to take the mercy of the six Goswamis and Shri Gaura-Nitai in order to be able to access Sri Vrindavan Dham. He says, otherwise, if you kind of skip over Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, and you just try to understand Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan, you'll take it cheaply and you'll, make it all mundane and you'll misunderstand and you won't be able to understand Vrindavan. He literally says, unless you're favored by Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, there's no point going to Vrindavan because you won't see Vrindavan. You're just wasting your time going there. But when we take shelter of the six Goswamis and follow their instructions and follow their teachings and understand Radha and Krishna through the writings of the six Goswamis, simultaneously following the sadhana process of sadhana bhakti given by the acharyas, especially our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, who's very strictly following the footsteps of the six Goswamis. Then when we go to Vrindavan, we can actually experience something. We may not be seeing it the way, the true Vrindavan, eternal Vrindavan is, but we can experience something. It won't be a totally just mundane experience. Hannah, is that your hand up?
Yeah, my question was just, what are we supposed to see in Vrindavan? But you kind of answered it.
We're supposed to see that all the trees are wish-fulfilling trees and full of beautiful flowers like jasmines and kadumbas and mullikas, and there's buzzing bees and chirping parrots that are carrying the messages of Radha and Krishna, and that it's full of pure devotees who are immersed in loving service to Radha and Krishna. And yeah, you're supposed to hear Krishna playing his flute and be attracted to that, among other things. Okay, let's go on. Text 33. Ore mudha loka shuna Caitanya mangala Caitanya mahima yate janibe sakala.
O fools, just read Sri Chaitanya Mangala. By reading this book, you can understand all the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purport: Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat was originally entitled Sri Chaitanya Mangala, but when Srila Lochana Das Thakur later wrote another book named Sri Chaitanya Mangala, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur changed the name of his own book, which is now therefore known as Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. The life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very elaborately described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has already informed us that in his Sri Chaitanya Caritamrita, he has described whatever Vrindavan Das Thakur has not mentioned. This acceptance of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami indicates his acceptance of the disciplic succession. A writer of transcendental literature never tries to surpass the previous acharyas.
It's funny verse, right? Ore mudha.
Oh.
Hey, you fools. Just read the Chaitanya Mangala. So this is Krishnadas Kaviraj urging us that first he's saying, don't neglect Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You need to worship Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu if you want to approach Radha Krishna, if you want to feel ecstasy of love of God while chanting Hare Krishna, if you want to appreciate Vrindavan properly, you need to understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the way to understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he doesn't say is by reading my book. He says you should read the book about Lord Chaitanya's life and pastimes written by Vrindavan Das Thakur, the Chaitanya Mangala, which now is called Chaitanya Bhagavat. So he's taking a very humble position. And he often, as we read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll hear oftentimes that Vrindavan Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying, Vrindavan Das Thakur has explained this pastime elaborately in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, and I'm just, giving a synopsis here. So please read the whole thing, like read the elaborate description of Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur, and you'll be very, very happy. And then he also says that he's just, whatever Vrindavan Das Thakur didn't describe, he's kind of picking up whatever was left. Not that mine is the main book, but. So then one might ask, well, why did Srila Prabhupada translate the Chaitanya Charitamrita? Why not Chaitanya Bhagavat? These were the two principal texts about personality and the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So how I've heard this explained is that Srila Prabhupada actually, he was thinking quite deeply about this, right? He was a little bit like pondering, which should I do? Because they're both very long works, and Prabhupada knew that he had limited time, his lifespan, he wouldn't be able to do both. He could do one or the other. So then he was thinking, okay, well, Chaitanya Bhagavat, it focuses mainly on the early life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like a lot about his childhood pastimes in his youth, mainly like his Adi-lila. It doesn't touch on so much on his later pastimes, and there's basically nothing at all about his pastimes in Jagannath Puri, where he's really demonstrating, that intense mood of Vipralambha Bhav and the mood of Srimati Radharani, which is really the essence of what he came to give the world.
Mm.
And the other thing is that Vrindavan Das Thakur, when he's narrating Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, it's literally like Leela. It's, this happened, and this is all the details of how it happened, what happened, who was there, what was going on, and how they're all feeling. But there's very little philosophy. Right? It's just pastimes. It's just stories of it's true stories of what Lord Chaitanya did. But he doesn't go to such great length as explaining who is Lord Chaitanya, who is Lord Nityananda, right? Like at the beginning of the Adi-lila, we spent a long time just reading about tattva, right? Who is Lord Chaitanya? What is his transcendental position? Lord Nityananda, whole chapter, right? All the Nityananda tattva. So Srila Prabhupada was thinking that, the stories are nice, and Vrindavan Das Thakur's details really bring these pastimes to life. But if you don't understand who these personalities are, you're just going to read it as some, entertaining, novel or something, like, okay, that's fun. That's cool. Wish I was there. But who are these people really? So we might consider them ordinary historical figures who lived colorful lives and were very influential, but we might not be so sure that they are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, the source of all the other incarnations and the creation and the maintainers and the destroyers of the universe. So that Prabhupada considered that was very, very important. And Caitanya Caritamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj recaps in brief what Vrindavan Das Thakur gave in terms of his childhood and youthful pastimes, and then goes into the end pastimes. So it basically has everything from beginning to end, although albeit maybe not so elaborately. And it also gives the rasa, it gives the tattva, it gives the lila, it gives everything. So it's a little more comprehensive. And so that was why Prabhupada decided. Now you might wonder, this doesn't seem very right, that Vrindavan Das Thakur had already published a book with the name Chaitanya Bhagavat, with the name Chaitanya Mangala, and then another Vaishnava author came around and wrote a shorter book about Lord Chaitanya's life and he gave it the same name. He decided to also name it Chaitanya Mangala. So it doesn't seem really like good etiquette, that someone's already published a book with that title and you just decide you name your book with the same title. So I always wondered about that. Then I did some research on this recently, and I discovered that it wasn't like, a breach of etiquette, but it was actually like a way of offering a lot of respect to Vrindavan Das Thakur, because before Lochan Das Thakur published his book Chaitanya Mangala, he said to Vrindavan Das Thakur, he said that, I've written this book about Lord Chaitanya's life, but your book is much more extensive, is much more authoritative, is just really a lot better and more important than my book. And so this name Chaitanya Mangala, I feel like it doesn't, it's not such a glorious name as Chaitanya Bhagavat. And after all, Vrindavan Das Thakur is the author of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is like the Krishna Bhagavat. So he thought, this is better. Your book should be called Chaitanya Bhagavat, because that name gives it like the highest authority. This is like the Bhagavatam of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And my book, Mangala, just means auspicious. It just means auspicious Chaitanya. Some auspicious pastimes. But your book is like the Bhagavatam is the Amala Purana, the Parama Praman. It is like the ultimate supreme literature of all literatures. And so your descriptions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes should be seen like that. So it's kind of like out of respect and appreciation that he offered him. He suggested like a better title to glorify his book more, and he took what he thought was the lesser title. So that was kind of sweet. Okay. Text 34. Krishna Lila Bhagavate Kahe Vedavyas Chaitanya Lila Ravyasa Vrindavana Das. Rich?
Yes, Prabhupada Priya, thank you. as Vyasadeva has compiled all the pastimes of Lord Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam, Thakura Vrindavana Dasa has depicted the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah, so Vrindavan Das Thakur is the incarnation of Srila Vyasadeva in Caitanya Lila. They're the same person. So he compiled Krishna's pastimes, and he also compiled Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in same soul, different body. Okay, text 35. Vrindavana Dasa Kaila Chaitanya Mangala Yanhara Shravanena She Sarva Amangala. Just are you reading?
Sorry, I'm tapping.
Okay, Nikesh.
Thakura Vrindavan Das has composed Sri Chaitanya Mangala. Hearing this book annihilates all misfortune.
So this is a little bit of a play on words, right? Because it will destroy all amangala, everything that is amangala. This mangala will destroy everything that is amangala. So auspicious that it will annihilate all inauspiciousness in your life. Text 36. Chaitanya nitara yate janiye mahima yate jani Krishna bhakti siddhante rasima. Hannah, do you want to read?
Yes.
Okay.
By reading Sri Chaitanya Mangala, one can understand all the glories and truths of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda and come to the ultimate conclusion of devotional service to Lord Krishna. Purport. Srimad Bhagavatam is the authoritative reference book from which to understand devotional service, but because it is very elaborate, few men can understand its purport. Srimad Bhagavatam is the original commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, which is called the Nyaya Prasthana. It was written to enable one to understand the absolute truth through infallible logic and argument, and therefore its natural commentary, Srimad Bhagavatam, is extremely elaborate. Professional reciters have created the impression that Srimad Bhagavatam deals only with Krishna's Rasa-lila, although Krishna's Rasa-lila is described only in chapters 29 through 33 of the 10th canto. They have in this way presented Krishna to the Western world as a great woman hunter, and therefore we sometimes have to deal with such misconceptions in preaching. Another difficulty in understanding Srimad Bhagavatam is that the professional reciters have introduced Bhagavat Saptaha, or 7-day readings of the Bhagavatam. They want to finish Srimad Bhagavatam in a week, although it is so sublime that even one verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, if properly explained, cannot be completed in 3 months. Under these circumstances, it is a great aid for the common man to read Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Bhagavat, for thus he can actually understand devotional service, Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, and Nityananda. Srila Rupa Goswami has said, Shruti Smriti Puranandi Pacharatra Vidim Vina Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Utapatayava Kalpate. Devotional service to the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures, the Upanishads, Puranas, Narada Pancharatra, etc., is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. Due to misunderstanding Srimad Bhagavatam, people are misled regarding the science of Krishna. However, by reading Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur's book, one can very easily understand this science.
So everything that we do needs to be according to the scriptures. And the highest scriptures that we have are the Bhakti scriptures, the Bhakti Shastras. So those are like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Caitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, and so forth. So we need to read these. And it's also significant that Srila Prabhupada, he was translating and writing his purports for the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he got up to the 5th canto, and then he decided to stop, and he paused his work on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he started Chaitanya Charitamrita. So in the smack dab, like in the middle of the Bhagavatam, he just stopped and started Chaitanya Charitamrita, and then he did the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita only when that was done, he went back and picked up the continuation of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, yeah, and that's because sometimes the Bhagavatam can be difficult to understand, or we can become confused about how to apply the wisdom of Srimad Bhagavatam. But when we read about Chaitanya, like reading Caitanya Charitamrita, there's no ambiguity. It's very clear, right? And the message of devotional service and Krishna Bhakti is made very, very clear. And the process for practicing it is also made very clear. And the mercy for being able to be successful in the practice of bhakti is also very, very accessible because we're going through Lord Chaitanya. So Srila Prabhupada understood all these great, great benefits of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Krishna's Kaviraj is being humble and he's saying that he should read Chaitanya Bhagavat. There's no mention of read Chaitanya Charitamrita, but obviously he's writing it. This is the beginning of writing it, actually. And Krishna's Kaviraj, as I mentioned before, he was very, very elderly. And he was not sure at all whether he was going to be able to finish it. So we're still in the beginning, the Adi-lila. He hasn't even really gotten to too many pastimes, just a few little ones. And so he's recommending read Chaitanya Bhagavat. Just in case we don't finish this one. Okay, text 37. Bhagavate yatta bhakti siddhante rasara likiyachena inhajani karya uddhara. Sneha?
Yeah, Prabhupada Priya.
37.
Yeah. In Sri Chaitanya Mangala, known as Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has given the conclusion and the essence of devotional service by quoting the authoritative statements of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Jai. Yeah, so this is what all the devotee writers do, is they write their books and they quote other books, other shastras. Chaitanya Mangala Shune Yadi Pashandi Yavana Seha Maha Vaishnava Haya Tatakshana. Aruna, are you able to read?
Yes. 38, right?
Yeah.
If even a great atheist hears Sri Chaitanya Mangala, he immediately becomes a great devotee.
Jai. Chaitanya Mangala, Chaitanya Bhagavat Ki Jai. Let's go right on. Text 39. Manushya Chite Nare Aiche Granta Dhanya Vrindavana Dasa Mukhe Bhakta Shri Chaitanya. Divya, would you like to read? Must be late for you. What is it, like 11 p.m. there? Midnight?
Krishna, it's 11:40 a.m. Yeah, I would love to read. Sorry, let me just pull it. I have it's 39, sorry. Right? 39?
Yes, 39.
Okay. Okay, perfect. The subject matter of this book is so sublime that it appears that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has personally spoken through the writings of Sri
Wait.
Vrindavan Das Thakur.
Hold on.
Okay.
Chapter 8, text 39.
Is CC Adi 839?
Yeah, it starts the subject matter of this book.
Oh, yes, yeah. The subject matter of this book is so sublime that it appears that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has personally spoken through the writings of Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur. Srila Sanatan Goswami has written in his Hari Bhakti Vilas, one should not hear anything about Krishna from a non-Vaishnava. Milk touched by the lips of a serpent has poisonous effects. Similarly, talks about Krishna given by a non-Vaishnava are also poisonous. Transcendental literature that strictly follows the Vedic principles and the conclusion of the Puranas and Pancharatrika Vidhi can be written only by a pure devotee. It is not possible for a common man to write books on bhakti, for his writings will not be effective. He may be a very great scholar and may be expert in presenting literature in flowery language, But this is not at all helpful in understanding transcendental literature. Even if transcendental literature is written in faulty language, it is acceptable if it is written by a devotee, whereas so-called transcendental literature written by a mundane scholar, even if it is very highly polished literary presentation, cannot be accepted. The secret in a devotee's writing is that when he writes about the pastimes of the Lord helps him. He does not write alone. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Nadami buddhi yogam ta yena mam upayantite. Since a devotee writes in service to the Lord from within gives him so much intelligence that he sits down near the Lord and goes on writing books. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami confirms that what Vrindavan Das Thakur wrote was actually spoken by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he simply repeated it. The same holds true for Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wrote Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in his old age and in an invalid condition, but it is such a sublime literature that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj used to say, "The time will come when the people of the world will learn Bengali to read Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita." We are trying to present Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in English and do not know how successful it will be. But if one reads the original Chaitanya Charitamrita in Bengali, he will relish increasing ecstasy in devotional service.
God, such an ecstatic purport, right?
It's so ecstatic.
For all of you devotee writers out there, you can see here what a beautiful experience it is writing transcendental literature, writing Krishna conscious books. That, yeah, when we write about Krishna, we don't write alone. That Krishna gives us the intelligence from within. Says that the devotee sits down near the Lord and goes on writing books. So, yeah, this is the case. And yeah, just today, actually, I was doing a little School of Bhakti. It's based at Bhaktivedanta Manor in the UK. Invited me to speak on their Instagram, call it Instagram post. We did a live interview, and the hostess, Chitralekha, she was interviewing me about my book, The Living Gita, and she was asking me about that. She was asking me, like, what was the process for writing? And I was like, it was just like magic from beginning to end, basically. I would just like study and pray and then just start writing, and the magic would just start flowing. So one time even, like I was actually, I think more than once this happened, that I was just like typing away and like dozing off to sleep, and my fingers somehow miraculously kept moving, and I typed a whole paragraph or so without even knowing it. And then I kind of like woke up and read it, and I was like, whoa, I did not write that. Something very transcendental just happened. So yeah, this is how it is. And Baladev Vidyabhushan also, he wrote a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra called Govinda Bhasya. And he called it Govinda Bhasya because he felt totally unqualified to write it. And he just went and sat at the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami's deity, Govindaji. And he prayed his heart out, please, I have to do this. I've been ordered to do this. I'm totally unqualified to do this, but I have to do this. You need to help me. And then he said that, Govindaji, the deity of Govinda, just dictated the whole thing to him. And he literally just was the scribe, And so Govinda Bhasya means the words, it means the speech. So he entitled it, "This is the speech of Govinda. This is what Govinda told me." That's what Govinda said. So that's what it is. That's really like that. That when we start writing, when we're very sincere and very pure in our intentions and, pure in our lifestyle, and, we're just devotees trying to do an active devotional service in the service of Srila Prabhupada and the Lord, spread Krishna consciousness, then Krishna can speak through us. And that's what happened with Vrindavan Das Thakur, with Krishnadas Kaviraj, with Srila Prabhupada, and it can happen with you. Yeah. Okay, looks like we have a ghost outside the window there. Okay, text 40. Vrindavana dasa pade koti namaskara. Aiche ganta kari tenho tarila samsara. I offer millions of obeisances unto the lotus feet of Vrindavan Das Thakur. No one else could write such a wonderful book for the deliverance of all fallen souls. Narayani Chaitanya Uchista Bhajana Dhanra Garbhe Jamila Shri Dasa Vrindavana.
Narayani eternally eats the remnants of the food of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur was born of her womb. In text 43 of the Gaur Gunadesha Dipika, a book written by Kavi Karnapura that describes all the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and who they previously were, there is the following statement regarding Narayani. Ambikaya Swasayasin Namna Srila Kilimbika Krishna Chistam Prabhunajana Seyam Narayani Mata. When Lord Krishna was a child, he was nursed by a woman named Ambika, who had a younger sister named Kilimbika. During the time of Lord Chaitanya's incarnation, the same Kilimbika used to eat the remnants of food left by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That Kilimbika was Narayani, who was a niece of Srivas Thakur's. Later on, when she grew up and married, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur was born from her womb. A devotee of Lord Sri Krishna is celebrated in terms of devotional service rendered to the Lord. Thus, we know Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur as the son of Narayani. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur notes in this connection that there is no difference to his paternal ancestry because there is no need to understand it.
His father was not so important. His mother was very important because she was an eternal associate of the Lord, Nitya who served Krishna in his pastimes by, her sister, her older sister, would actually take care of Krishna and sometimes feed Krishna the milk from her own breast. Sometimes that was done. And this Kilimbika, the younger sister, must have also done some similar services, helping her sister take care of Krishna in different ways. And because she was there in the house of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj and baby Krishna, then after Krishna would eat, she would probably be eating his remnants. And then, so then she appeared in Caitanya Adi-lila, and she would eat the remnants of food left by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so that was Narayani. And she grew up, and her son was Vrindavan Das Thakur. So that goes to show power of prasadam. If you honor the Mahaprasadam of the Lord very nicely, you might end up with a son like Vrindavan Das. Text 42. Tanra ki adbhuta chaitanya charita varnana yahara shravane shuddha kailash tribhuvana.
What a wonderful description he has given of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Anyone in the three worlds who hears it, it is purified. Who hears it is purified.
Ataiva bhajaloka chaitanya nityananda kandive samsara dukkha bhave premananda. Nikesh?
I fervently appeal to everyone to adopt the method of devotional service given by Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda and thus be freed from the miseries of material existence and ultimately achieve the loving service of the Lord.
I like how he's very intense about this. He's like, I fervently appeal to everyone, please practice devotional services given by Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. That way you can achieve the loving service of the Lord, being freed from all your material miseries. So we should try to satisfy Krishna's Kaviraj by doing that, right? He's begging us, please, fervently appeal to you. Please practice devotional service as taught by Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Vrindavana Dasa Kaila Chaitanya Mangala Tahate Chaitanya Lila Varnila Sakala. Hannah?
I'm sorry, it always takes like 5 seconds to like click unmute. Okay. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has written Sri Chaitanya Mangala and therein described in all respects the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya.
Sutra Kari Sabalila Karila Grantana Hache Vistariya Tahara Kaila Vivarana. Aduna.
Hi. He first summarized all the pastime of the Lord and later described them vividly in detail.
Chaitanya Chandrera Lila Ananta Apara Varnite Varnite Granta Haila Vistara. Divya.
Sorry, it's sorry, where are we? 42?
46.
46. Oh, so sorry. 1 second. I'm just getting there.
Did you fall asleep?
No, I'm cleaning the common area. So I had the vacuum on, so it's just taking a second to turn it. Oh wait. Hymns of Lord Chaitanya are unlimited and unfathomable. Therefore, in describing all those pastimes, the book became voluminous.
Okay. Text 47. Vistara Dekiya Kichu Sankocha Hailamana Sutra Drita Kona Lila Nakaila Varnana. Rich.
Hare Krishna, he saw them to be so extensive that he later felt that some had not been properly described.
Okay. Reflecting on his own work.
It's like he's talking to himself while writing.
He's talking about
Sankoch
Vrindavan Das
Haila
Thakur.
Mana. Huh?
He's talking about Vrindavan Das Thakur.
This is all he's talking about. Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
Oh,
text
okay.
48. Nityananda Lila Varnane Haila Avesha Chaitanya Shesha Lila Rahila Avashesha. Oh, Rich just read. Nikesh.
He ecstatically described the pastimes of Lord Nityananda, but the later pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained untold.
Okay. Yeah, so this is Vrindavan Das Thakur. He got so absorbed in writing in so much detail that he spent a lot of, at the beginning of the book, he was going in so much detail. And afterwards, reflecting on his own work, he was thinking, oh my God, I mean, the pastimes of the Lord are unlimited. I don't want to leave anything out, but it's impossible to include all of them. And then he thought, this book is becoming too long. It's like, no one's going to read it. It's too long. And so he, because he was putting so much into in the beginning, then he couldn't do justice to the end. So then he's saying that, he wasn't able to describe the later pastimes, but the devotees of Vrindavan were very anxious to know about those pastimes. Vrindavane kalpadrume suvarna sadana mahayoga pita tahan ratna singhasana. In Vrindavan, in a great place of pilgrimage underneath the desire trees, is a golden throne bedecked with jewels. Okay, where are we going now? Tate Vasi Ache Sada Rajendra Nandana Shri Govinda Deva Nama Sakshat Madana.
On that throne sits the son of Nanda Maharaj, Sri Govind Dev, the transcendental Cupid.
Rajaseva Hayatana Vichitra Prakara Divya Sahagri Divya Vastra Alankara.
Varieties of majestic service are rendered to Govinda there. His garments, ornaments, and paraphernalia are all transcendent.
Sahasra Sevaka Seva Kare Anupshana Sahasra Vadane Seva Nayaya Varnana. Rich.
Hare Krishna. In that temple of Govindaji, thousands of servitors always render service to the Lord in devotion. Even with thousands of mouths, one could not describe this service.
Devara Adyaksha Shri Pandita Haridasa Tanrayasha Guna Sarva Jagate Prakasha. Anna?
Okay. In that temple, the chief servitor was Haridas Pandit. His qualities of fame are known all over the world.
A little purport there.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Is there? Oh, yes. Sorry. Sri Haridas Pandit was a disciple of Sri Ananta Acharya, who was a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit.
Amazing, right? His Haridas Pandit was a grand disciple of Gadadhar Pandit, who was Lord Chaitanya's very, very close associate in Puri, and who is none other than Srimati Radharani. This is a very exalted personality. And he was worshipping Govinda in the temple in Vrindavan in a very transcendental way. Sushila Sahishnu Shanta Vadanya Gambira Madhura Vachana Madhura Cheshta Mahadhira. Nikesh?
He was gentle, tolerant, peaceful, magnanimous, grave, sweet in his words, and very sober in his endeavors.
Rich, you have your hand up?
Sorry about that. I had trouble unmuting. I wanted to ask you, Prabhupada Priya, is Haridas Pandit the same person as Haridas Thakur, or that's a different person?
Different person.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
This one is younger. He's like a next generation or two generations, probably two generations later. Okay, so we're hearing about Haridas, the glories of Haridas Pandit. Sabara Sammana Karta Karena Sabara Hita Otilia Matsaya Himsana Janitan Chitta. Aruna?
He was respectful to everyone and worked for the benefit of all. Diplomacy, envy, and jealousy were unknown to his heart.
Okay, so this Haridas Pandit was a very nice devotee. Krishnaraye Sadharana Satguna Panchasha Sesalagunera Tanra Shadire Nivasa. Divya?
Thank you. So sorry, where are we again?
57.
57.
There's a verse and purport there.
Yes, I'm on my way. 5, 6, 7. Okay, sorry. The 50 qualities of Lord Chaitanya were all present in his body. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the transcendental qualities of Sri Krishna are mentioned. Among these, 50 are primary, Ayam Neta Su Ramyanga, etc. And in minute quantity, they were all present in the body of Sri Haridas Pandit. Since every living entity is a part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all 50 of these good qualities of Sri Krishna are originally minutely present in every living being. Due to his contact with material nature, these qualities are not visible in the conditioned soul, but when one becomes a purified devotee, they all automatically manifest themselves. This is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.18.12, as mentioned in the text below.
So since this is referred to, we'll read this one last verse today. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarve gunaistatra samasate sura arava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna manoratena sati dhavato bahi. In one who has unflinching devotional faith in Krishna, all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods are consistently manifested. However, one who has no devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no good qualifications, because he is engaged by mental concoction in material existence, which is the external feature of the Lord. So yeah, we're all little parts and parcels of Krishna. And just like a little drop of water from the ocean has all the same chemical components as the whole ocean, but in a very, very small degree. So we also have all the qualities, not all. Krishna has 64 qualities, but we can have 50 in a tiny degree, but in a very pure, beautiful degree. And so the Haridas Pandit had those. As we purify ourselves through practicing bhakti, then these qualities, which are actually the natural qualities of the soul, they manifest. And we become very wonderful. So, okay, we should stop here. It is time. We'll continue tomorrow. So we're going to hear more about Haridas Pandit. And I think it might be this Haridas Pandit actually who requests Krishna's Kaviraj to write the Caitanya Caritamrita. He's somehow involved. That's what we're leading up to, because the chapter is called The Author Received the Orders of Guru and Krishna. Okay, stay tuned. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Ravindras Thakur ki jai. Haridas Pandit ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Prabhupada Priya